I'm Matthew Burchette, and if you can name the kind of plane I'm sitting in right now, I'll give you $5. Wait. I'll probably lose $5. Just stay tuned. We've come down to sunny California to Travis Air Force Base, home of the Air Force Reserve's 349th Air Mobility Wing, and one very cool plane, the KC-10. It's an aerial refueling tanker that's been flying since 1980, and it's set to retire soon. So, before it's grounded for good, we had to come see it in action and talk to some of the crew and pilots who love it. All right, we're here with Major Mandy Messenger. That's 3 M's all in a row. Now, you're a reservist, correct?
Yeah, I was active duty for 11 years and then transitioned to the 70th here at my 11-year point. And that's when so now I fly both in the reserves and commercially.
Nice.
So,
do you like it?
I love it. It is very different, the two sides of it, and it's a nice balance. Here we have a lot of camaraderie. You know, it's just like, it's a very tight-knit family. The whole time the KC-10's been around, really, there's only been 2 bases. We all deployed to the same location, so you kind of know everyone, whether they're active or reserve. Yeah. So making that transition from the active duty to the reserves is really easy because you already know everyone and you know the mission. So it's been a great career. I've had 15 years pretty much flying this one plane, so I'll miss it when it's gone. But
so yeah, once the KC-10 is gone, are you going to transition over, or are you kind of done?
I am. I'm going to go to the KC-46.
Oh, wow.
I was slated to be the initial cadre on it, so I'll miss the 10. I'll miss the capabilities of the 10.
Yeah.
Obviously, its offload capability is significant.
Right.
But it will be nice to fly a plane that is updated, modernized, and has some different capabilities than this plane. Not to mention, it's younger. It probably doesn't have as many maintenance problems, so that'll be nice.
I have to say, I am really jealous that you guys are flying today.
Yeah, it would be really great if you could come along. Do you want to come?
Do not toy with me.
Come on, let's go.
Are you serious?
Yeah, let's go.
Oh my God, this is gonna be awesome. But before we can take off, we had to get briefed. The flight today is a training mission for reservists in the 70th and 79th Aerial Refueling Squadrons, where the crew will practice as both a tanker and receiver when we meet up in the air with another KC-10 and a C-17. We've got an awesome team taking us up, including Andrea, a pilot with the 79th. Andrea, tell us how the reserves work. I mean, what sets them apart from active duty?
So in the reserve, it allows citizen airmen, we call ourselves citizen airmen, to have civilian jobs and still serve in the military. A traditional reservist will work 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year as air crews, so pilots, flight engineers, boom operators, and other aircraft load masters. Mm-hmm. We fly a lot more. We have more requirements for flying. So we get more pay statuses, let's say, to be out here hacking the mission and meeting our training requirements. I am actually coming up on 22 years in the Air Force Reserve. And when I'm not flying, I actually help out in the squadron doing stuff like this.
Yes, and thank you so much, because you're a natch.
This has been my non-flying job, is setting this up.
Yes, and you have done an amazing job, and we thank you so much. Fun. Back on the flight line, the crew chiefs and maintenance specialists are getting our ride ready to go. And for a plane as big and well used as the KC-10, that can be a pretty tall order. What exactly does a crew chief do? I mean, on a daily basis, are you always hands-on with the planes?
Yes, we're usually launching, recovering, refueling, inspecting, just keeping it maintained, ready to go on each mission.
All right, so define launch and recover.
So when an aircraft is going to take off, we prep it, we marshal it out and send it on its way, and then when we recover it, they taxi in, we bring them into the spot and put the jet to bed or get it ready to go up again.
Again, wow. What's the fastest turnaround you guys have done?
Our quick turns are 6 hours. So it'll land, we'll refuel it, do a little inspection, and then it can go back
And then
up.
off What takes the most time? Is it literally just the inspection, or is it just getting the gas in there?
Getting the gas.
That's a big fuel tank.
Yeah.
She holds a lot.
That's crazy. All right, I'm gonna try to contain my excitement before we take off. Tell us a little bit about this aircraft.
Okay, yeah. So the KC-10 is a little bit more on the outdated version of maybe your commercial airliner. So we still have the entire engineer panel. Essentially, the engineer does everything the pilots don't want to do. They do all the work. They do the pre-flight, the walk around. They manage all the fuel, the systems. I mean, really, they make this whole thing happen. You know, they're our eyes and ears. They're the systems experts on the plane. So, you know, we have a pretty good working knowledge, but we lean on them when we have a question. So, so they manage this whole system. They do all the checklists. Being a co-pilot on the KC-10 is a pretty good deal. You don't have any checklists to run. So that's the engineers panel, and then obviously our flight deck for the rest of it is just the pilot, who sometimes is the aircraft commander, sometimes not, and then the co-pilot. Our avionics are a little bit outdated, but we still have some steam, and then we've got some glass, so it's a little mix of both. Yeah, it keeps us legal, but it's not that expensive. So easier parts to maintain and swap out. So.
But what's the difference going to be between this and the KC-46?
So the KC-46 is a totally modernized plane. So you have essentially an entire glass cockpit. It's all screens. There's no engineer.
Oh, wow.
So they booted the engineers out like most civilian aircraft have. And then the boom operator actually has their own station where they do remote vision for the boom operator portion of it. So there's no more walking to the back, looking through the window. It's all 3D vision, you know, just playing a video game, but up here with us now.
Oh, that's wild. But I can't imagine doing it remotely.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's been around for quite a bit, actually. The Dutch had the KDC-10, which is their version, and they transitioned to the remote vision system, I think sometime in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, okay.
So it's been around for a little bit, but you know, if it's not broken, don't fix it. It's been working for us pretty well. So
that's awesome.
Well, it looks like the engineer's here. He's about ready to go do his walk around. If you'd like to take a look on the outside and let us get to it up here so we can get out of here on time.
I do not want to hold it up.
All right.
Thanks, Mandy.
Good. Have a nice walk.
All right. Did you know that the KC-10 Extender was based on the design of McDonnell Douglas's DC-10? In fact, 88% of the plane's system are shared with its commercial cousin. Now, of course, some of the biggest differences are found in the cockpit, where the KC-10 Avionics system uses a combination of modern and, well, let's call them vintage, instruments. As an avionics expert, what do you actually do on the 10?
So on the 10, it's kind of an older avionics suite, but beautiful because it's all analog. So if you know how to troubleshoot and read wiring diagrams and you understand theory, you'll get really good at this job. And then when you go to more advanced aircraft, you can troubleshoot really well. But my systems basically tell you where you're going and how you're going to get there. So
Okay.
I work navigation, I work autopilot, I work integrated. They integrate with so many different systems. I do fuel quantity. So particularly on the 10, you have to know how much fuel you have on the 10.
You would think.
Because you need fuel to feed your main engines, and then you also need fuel to download to your receivers. So that's a critical system. That one's hard. That's my least favorite and my most favorite because it's so hard to troubleshoot, but it's great. And the more you learn, the better you become at it. And she will humble you on a daily basis.
And speaking of fuel systems, one of our boom operators, Callie, is getting things ready as we wait to meet up with the other KC-10 for the first refueling exercise on our mission.
That's a lot of range.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good. So I'm going to clear them in. I'm going to be talking to my pilots up front, kind of explaining to them, painting them a picture basically back here since they can't see, they don't know how close they are. There's a plane coming up to us. So I'm just kind of giving them a better situational awareness of what's going on back here by calling distance calls. So I'll start with 50 feet and then 40, 30, 20, 10. And then once there's contact, it shows up front.
Oh, okay.
And we're in contact. And then essentially, normally we'd be able to talk to them using. So right now we're also the voice. So the pilots will say something to me, and I relay it to that plane.
Okay. That's crazy.
So when the tip of my boom is right about on that black nose, that's about 50 feet. So that's
Okay.
what we call pre-contact. Pre-contact, right.
That's a great view.
Yeah, I know. It's a great office view. We probably should have got the window cleared. It's a little dirty. So I'm waiting for them to get closer. I'm keeping it pretty straight so they have a good picture. And then once they get close enough, I can start extending it to get into the receptacle. So he's an instructor. He's basically showing his students the whole pocket that you have to refuel. So we don't always do that. They usually just get the contact and kind of just try to stay. They normally just try to stay in the pocket. Essentially, we want them to be at 0, between 12 and 14 and 30. But they can go that whole room, so it kind of gives them a better idea of what is allowed. So I have a good feel of what looks comfortable in the window, but I'm always referring back to these.
Yeah. See what the instruments tell you?
Sorry?
See what the instruments tell you?
Absolutely. And then so you can see the colors on the boom out there. Do you see the colors? It goes like red, yellow, green. When it's in the green, that's telling you that it's basically in this white band. And then like yellow means it's either getting really close or pretty far out, and then red means they're about to bust the limit. Smile, you guys are on camera.
Now, we all know that a plane can only fly so far based on the amount of fuel it can carry. So, of course, the idea of transferring fuel from one plane to another in flight has a lot of appeal. And only 20 years after the Wright brothers' first flight, mid-air refueling was accomplished for the first time. There have been a lot of different methods over the years, including probe and drogue and wing-to-wing refueling. But the flying boom system first showed up on Boeing's B-29 in the 1950s. Boeing then developed the first production aerial tanker, the KC-97, and later the KC-135, which entered service in 1957 and is still operating today. But the Air Force realized they needed even more aerial refueling capacity, which resulted in McDonnell Douglas developing the monster KC-10. Its 6 tanks can carry up to 356,000 pounds of fuel. That's nearly double the capacity of the KC-135. And it can transfer from tanker to receiver at a maximum rate of 1,100 gallons per minute. How cool is that? So that's a little bit of the history of aerial refueling. But how about the history of these squadrons? Dr. Blodgett, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here.
Well, I appreciate being able to help you.
Tell us a little bit of the history of the 70th and 79th. Now, both of those are reserve squadrons.
They are reserve squadrons, yes. The 70th, I should say, was formed in the 1950s, 1954, if memory serves me well. And that was a time when the United States was expanding the Strategic Air Command, because that was a time when we were expecting to fight a global war with the Soviet Union. And the Strategic Air Command would be the component of that would be dropping atomic bombs on the Soviet Union. So they needed not only additional bombers, they needed additional tanker support. And then when in the 90s, when Strategic Air Command was shut down, they were transferred to the reserve and they were transferred to the 349th and ultimately came up here to Travis Air Force Base. Now, the 79th is a little bit different in the sense that they were created during World War II, and they were created as a troop transport squadron. In fact, they were the ones who took the 101st Airborne into Normandy in June of 1944. But after the war, again, the United States had a choice. We knew that there would be a conflict with the Soviet Union. We just didn't know what shape it would take. So what do we do with this massive military force we've created? Well, you certainly can't just get rid of it. You may need it. But on the other hand, you've got people who have to be returned to the economy. I mean, they have a life to lead and they don't want to spend their lives in the military. So that's when the Air Force Reserve was born. And the 79th was transferred to the reserve, and they were transferred to flying the KC-10 and ultimately transferred to here with the 349th Air Mobility Wing. And this wing has committed itself to every crisis the United States has faced since World War II. Wow. So these people do amazing things, amazing. And I am so deeply impressed with my airmen.
How cool is this? We get cookies.
The KC-10 first flew in July of 1980, and since then, the 59 extenders in the U.S. Air Force fleet have accumulated well over 2.3 million flying hours. And after seeing her in action today, I think we can all agree she's a real special bird. All right, you have to admit, this was an amazing episode. In fact, I think it's been my favorite episode we've done to date. How much cool stuff did we see? Oh my gosh, I cannot thank the men and women of the 70th and 79th enough. This was amazing. These 2 days have been great. So keep tuning in because you never know what we're going to be up to next. And if you've got comments or questions, Post them up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We don't care. We'll get back to you. Stay in touch. Nobody got killed.
No, nobody got killed. You did great. You did great.
That's definitely one for the old checklist right there. Woo! That was kind of cool. I need a beer.